Hey Flosstubers, it's Katie the Stash Queen again, coming to you for my first Whips of the Week video. I'm also not just going to be showing Whips of the Week this week, I'm going to be showing some haul that came in since my last video. I know it was only a couple days ago, but big mail day yesterday. The Whips of the Week, I'm going to do the Unnormal tag from Cindy from Fishy Crafts. Hi Cindy! And I'm also going to start my stash videos. I've got a lot of stash, so there's going to be a lot of stash videos. But before I get started, I just wanted to say thank you so much to everyone who watched my video, who commented on it, who subscribed, who said something to me on Facebook about it. It really warmed my heart and it made me excited and even more happy that I have joined this community. So thank you so much. Keep commenting. I'm doing my best to reply to comments. And there you go. So I figured I took notes today, see? I even prepared this time so I wouldn't just be rambling. It still may be a long video, and I can't stop rambling, clearly. Anyway, let's start with some haul. First thing that I got some needle minders in from Pinoy Stitch on Facebook, or not Facebook, on Etsy. Pinoy Stitch. She makes some really cute needle minders that are in shapes of books that I really liked, and I went ahead and got a couple of them. I apologize in advance, Coffee Stitcher, you're not gonna like one of them. I know. So here is the first little set. It is Anne of Green Gables and Pride and Prejudice. Hopefully those aren't too blurry for you guys, and there's a little bit of a glare, but I'll be using the Anne of Green Gables one for my Anne of Green Gables Soda Stitch. And then Pride and Prejudice is one of my favorite books, and I'm probably going to use that on the bookshelf because that one's listed there. And then these two, which is the Flower Fairies of Spring and Harry Potter. Fairies because I love fairies, Harry Potter because I love Harry Potter. So those are the needle minders. They're really strong in the back. They've got really good quality magnets. They came wrapped. I have clearly already unwrapped them, but on these cute little cards. So definitely I'm impressed and I look forward to using them. Next, I mentioned in the last video that Coffee Stitch and I are talking about doing a Chatelaine Stitch Along next year. And the one that we are talking about doing is the Baltic Sea Mandala, which he introduced me to and I just fell in love with. And I went ahead and bought the pattern because I figure if we're going to do this in next year, I can go ahead and start working on getting all of the supplies and all that stuff that we need for it. But here is the picture. Isn't that pretty? I love how there's 4 different houses around it and the lighthouses and all that stuff. It's just really pretty. So that came in, and I now have the full list of all of the supplies that are going to be needed, and of course because it's a chatelaine it's going to need a lot of supplies. That's why you start collecting it and having time in advance. I also got my patterns of the month from Carolyn Manning Designs. I can't show you the patterns because they're not, they're just the patterns and I don't want to deal with the copyright issues, but I did want to show you one part that came from it. One of the clubs that I'm a member of is her Tidbit Club, and what she does is she makes this really cute pattern and then she crochets a little, what she calls tidbit, to go as part, like that you add on to the piece, kind of like beads or buttons or something like that. And this is the little tidbit that came with this month. Isn't that just adorable? She makes them herself, so everyone is handmade and unique to each person, but she has some really fantastic additions, like that. A couple of them have buttons in it for this month, and it's just really cool. So I wanted to show off that really cute little tidbit. And then the last thing I got is thanks to Judy and Brenda on the Stitch Mania group. It is a bead storage. I have a different way that I've been storing my beads in the little round stand-up things, but I haven't liked it. I just used it because I found it and thought it would work, but I saw this that they both got. I haven't taken it out of the box yet, but it's the Tiny Container Bead Storage Tray. And it's got something like 82 different little boxes that you can put beads in. I've got a label minder. I've got tons of beads. After this video, I will probably turn on Flosstube to watch some other people and start moving all of my beads into this, and maybe next time I can show you guys the finished product. But I think this is going to be great. If I fill up 82 things worth of beads, wow. But you never know. I'm the stash queen. I just might. Okay, so that is my haul for this video. And I'm still waiting on a couple of the Threads of the Month clubs to come in for this month, so I'm sure if they come in before I do my next video, I'll have those on my next video. Whips for the week. I know I said in the last video that one thing I will do on Sundays is a whips of the week and a week in review. This is my first time to do it this week, and the only whip I've really worked on this week is actually still going to be in the whips for the week today. It's the Faces of Joan Elliott Stitch Along that I mentioned last time in the last video. So this week it's just going to be whips for the week. Next Sunday I'll do the week in review of all of these projects that I'm going to show you now, as well as the whips for the following week. So let me go ahead and show you the whips of the week that I've got this week. First is the Faces of Joan Elliott Stitch Along. I can't show you a finished product of this one either because it's all just the patterns, but if you join the group on Facebook, you can get all of the patterns and stuff there. I have worked on it some since I last saw you guys. See, this is the top corner up here that I'm really focusing on. It's a little bit too much shade today. But I've done the fairies and her collar, so I'm going to start working on her dress and stuff today. I'm also going to mention the needle minders. This is my I Am Sherlocked. And if you're a Sherlock fan, you know what that is. I got that from Minding My Minders on Facebook. Jeannie Frakes is just a great, and I probably totally butchered her name, but she makes some fantastic minders. She's been doing this for a while. I've got a ton of her minders. You'll see some more of them now while I'm doing this, but it's really, really good. So that's one. And pausing for just a second so I can try to see if I get a little more light in here. That's a little bit better. I've got this big, huge tub of stuff that isn't mom cave stuff that just needs to be cleaned out. Anyway, the next one for this week is my Fall Fairy from the Dimensions Gold Collection. And again, I know you guys just saw all these in my last video. Sorry. Here is the finished piece when it's done. Really beautiful. I like her a lot. And then this is where I have gotten to her, or gotten on her at this point. And then my needle minder for this one is a little baby Groot, also from Minding My Minders. Groot! Tuesday I have 2 whips of the week because Tuesday's the 30th, and I've got my normal whip that I'll work on during the day, which I'll show you guys first. That's the Fibery Friends sampler from the Frosted Pumpkin Stitchery. And I am doing this on 28 Jobelin in Tempest from Hand Dyed Fabrics by Stephanie. And here is where I am on it at this point. I've got the alphabet done, so I should be able to start working on the circle around it this week. And then the minder I've got for it is this little cute coffee minder from Minding My Minders. Hopefully that showed up and wasn't so blurry. But the 30th in the evening is also when the next frame for the Storytime Sampler will come out. Now, I said in the last video that I normally do my rotation in alphabetical order, and I do. The exception is the 2 annual stitch-alongs, because I will pull, regardless of where I am in the rotation, those 2 will get pulled to be worked on the 30th and the 1st of each month. So here is the Storytime Sampler from Frosted Pumpkin Stitchery. So Tuesday is clearly going to be a Frosted Pumpkin Day. And there's my minder to show that off first. It's a little blingy Alice that Minding My Minders gave. And then here is the piece so far. I am doing this on 28 Jobelin in Melody from Hand Dyed Fabrics by Stephanie. Clearly I don't know what the frame is going to be yet for July, but we will see what happens. Next time you guys see this, the July frame will be completed, because I do it in a day, because I'm just crazy. And again, like I've mentioned before, I've substituted this one all the Mo's Sale flosses and silks in that piece. I'm not going to go into the full list because it's a long list. When I finish the piece on my blog, I will post the full list of all of the colors that I used. So keep watching for that. Won't be clearly till the end of the year. And then Wednesday is the 1st. So Wednesday morning, the Clouds Factory will release the next edition of the Walking Through the Stars Zodiac sampler. So I'll show this one off again. And by the next time you guys see me next weekend, this will be complete too. But here it is so far. It is up to date at this point. My little minder is Gemini, because I'm a Gemini, from Minding My Minders. Whee, all the pretty in the middle. And this is done on 32 Belfast in Black Magic from Under the Sea Fabrics. And again, I substituted all of Mo's Sale's dyes or flosses and silks for this piece as well. And I will post the complete list when I finish the piece at the end of the year. The next one is Flames of Desire by Leanne Seed for Heaven and Earth Designs. And here's that picture again for you guys to see. I forgot to mention this when I showed this one off last time. I am doing this 1/1 half stitches instead of the full stitches. A lot of people do their heids by only doing the half stitches, and some do it 2/2, some do it 2/1, some do it all sorts of other things. I'm doing it 1/1, and I've been pleased with the coverage so far on it. Let me show it to you guys again. Oops, my minder I put in the wrong place. My mistake. I've been collecting minders for a while. I have this little square block thing that usually keeps all my needles that sits right next to me, and I'm still using it, but I kind of got hooked on using the needle minder this week, so now I've added needle minders to all my pieces. But here it is again, Flames of Desire. And this is being done on 32 Belfast in Mayan Apocalypse from Under the Sea Fabrics, and here's the minder. It's one of my Outlander minders showing Claire and Jamie. I love Outlander. Great books. The show is fantastically close to the books, even in its worst moments. So there's that one. Then Friday should be seeing me working on Italian Vista by the Dimensions Gold Collection, which I heard from one of my commenters I've already enabled. Yay! My other nickname in Stitch Mania is Super Enabler. I'm waiting for my cape and everything. I need a crown for being the Stash Queen and the cape for being the Super Enabler, and I will be all set. But here is where this one is at this point. Pretty little Vista. And then the minder is just a pretty little cameo minder from Minding My Minders. And I keep hitting, this is on a little rocking chair thing. So it keeps moving every time I keep hitting it, and I don't mean to. And I know I'm looking in the wrong place every so often. So I'm sorry. It just is what it is today. Oh, where's my drink? Because I need a drink. And then the last one, I should imagine I will hopefully finish this the next time I have it up on Saturday when I'm working on it. It's the Jeweled Apple kit from Mill Hill. Here, let me take it out of the plastic. And that's what it's supposed to look like when it's done. And here was where I was when I stopped it. So I don't really have a whole lot of the actual stitches left. I've got a lot of beading left to do. So we'll see how far I get with that. Now the last time the Walking Through the Stars Zodiac sampler and the Storytime sampler came up my rotation. Storytime I got done in a day. The Zodiac sampler took a couple more days than I had thought it might, so a couple of pieces held over to the following week. We'll see if that happens this week. So those are my whips for the week. Come back next week and you'll get to see what progress I made on them and see what whips are coming for the following week. Though speaking of whips, Wednesday is the 1st, as we all know, and that starts in Stitch Mania, our next event thing. I say our like I run it. I'm just a very active member of it, which is what they're calling Wine and Whips. We're going to be talking about wine and other lovely beverages throughout the month, but it's also supposed to be a month to help motivate us to work on our projects that make us wine the most. So on Wednesday, I've picked out 3 of mine that I'm going to do. I'm going to do 1st through the 7th, 8th through the 14th, 15th through the 21st, 22nd through the 28th. So work on 4 of the wine and whip pieces, or 4 pieces, 4 wine and whips throughout the month on top of my normal rotation. So come back on Wednesday, and because that one's not going to be your standard Sunday to Saturday weekly rotation, it'll be Wednesday to Tuesday, really. So come back on Wednesday. It'll be a quick video, but I'll show you where I am, which one I am picking for my wine and whip for that week, and tell you how I plan on working wine and whips out for the month. And yay! Oh, I'm just going down this list today. It's amazing how when I get organized, I can be a little bit more efficient. The unnormal tag. Cindy from Fishy Crafts has the unnormal tag, and that was the first one that I remembered where it originated from. Plus, I love watching Cindy. She's awesome and adorable. And whoop, 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 whoop. That's for you, Cindy. So her unnormal tag, I liked the question, so I thought I would, since I gave a bit of an introduction to myself last time, I thought I would go ahead and answer some of these questions this time. Her first question, the strangest place you have ever stitched. I would say there's probably 3 places that could go into that. One is the workplace. Now I know a lot of people stitch at work over the lunch, and I don't work now because I'm a stay-at-home mom, but when I was in college and working furiously in the 1.5 years between my engagement and my wedding on 5 really big cross-stitch projects on top of trying to, finish college and plan a wedding, I worked at night at our school's one of our graduate campuses, and it was just like the campus administrator at night. And really, once classes started, I just sat at the front desk, would answer questions in the phone. Other than that, I just was stitching away. And there were quite a few people who got very used to seeing me stitch, who would always come by either before class or after class to see how things are going, which was fun. Second would probably be the airport. I just did that a couple of weeks ago when I was going to fly to Tulsa for my husband's 2 bike races that he did in my trip to the Silver Needle, which I documented in full in pictures on the Stitch Mania group. It was a lot of fun. Third would probably be one of the indoor playground places that I bring my kids to. We are members over the summer, and plus we go throughout the year also. While they go run and play for a couple hours and get themselves exhausted, I'll just find either a table or a booth and I'll just pull out my cross-stitching. And I even did that earlier this week. And it's funny, the strange looks that I got, because I'm not some little old lady with white hair and a cane stitching something up, but I made a lot of progress and it keeps me occupied while the kids are having fun. So that would probably be the 3 places that would be the strangest places. My next favorite hobby for the next question probably be reading. I love to read. I'm an avid reader since I was little. I have my Kindle that's full of books. I don't have a whole lot of hard or like actual paper books anymore. Have some, but most of the books I get anymore are on the Kindle, which is a fantastic invention between being available on my phone or my actual Kindle or my iPad or the computer, wherever. It's great. So reading, I think, would be the next big hobby. To smoke or not to smoke? Ugh. I don't smoke. I never have. I never will. It's not something I like at all. My grandfather smoked a lot, and his brother, who was often over at his house, smoked a lot. And I have very vivid memories of my childhood of my grandmother's house having a very smoky smell until they started smoking outside, and I don't like smoking. So I still love all of you who may smoke. I don't smoke. Favorite social network site besides YouTube? I wouldn't put YouTube on the favorites yet because this is only my second video. It will become one though. I would say Facebook for the groups. I post in the groups regularly, both with my whips and my finishes and just for the social interaction and seeing other people's whips and finishes. But I also have my blog, which I try to get to daily. I have noticed this week that since I didn't switch my projects every day, that I'm not necessarily posting every day, even though I'm stitching every day, which, you know, that kind of is an interesting equivalent, because I mean, I'm going to post today because I'm going to finish up the Faces of Joan Elliott for this rotation or this stitch along this weekend. But I have noticed that if I don't switch my pieces every day, I'm not posting on my blog every day, which is kind of interesting. Do you or have you ever model stitched? No, but I have an interesting story that kind of fell through. I was stitching, I showed you guys last time the finished one of My Witch's Brew by Victoria Motto's Sampler Shop. And I had started it and I had posted it on my blog, and Nancy from Victoria Motto Sampler Shop, who had designed the piece, had seen me working on it on the hand-dyed fabric and all of that fun sort of thing. And she had asked me when I was done if I would, you know, when I had it framed and all that, if I would take a picture and send it to her, and she would try to use it, or she would possibly use it for the picture of the actual piece for selling it. And you saw that I never finished doing that, and between that suggestion and the time I actually finished it, a long time had passed, and it wasn't my fault, it wasn't Nancy's fault, it just kind of fell through. But it's an interesting concept. I don't know if I would want to, on one hand, okay, let me rephrase. On one hand, I'd love to do it. How cool would it be for my job just to be sit at home and stitch, which I already do, but get paid for it and get to see sometimes pieces before other people get to see it, before they're newly released. But at the same time, when I have to work on a piece for an obligation, it's not as fun. But I guess if I was getting paid for it, I might be willing to suck it up a little bit. So, wash or no wash? If I have to, if I absolutely have to, I will wash it. That's less than 1% of the time. Between the hand-dyed fabrics and the hand-dyed flosses and the beading and everything else, washing it scares me, quite honestly. If there's a reason that I absolutely need to wash it, I will. I don't grid, so I don't have the gridding markers to worry about. Only if an absolute necessary. Digital program that you use if you use digital. I do use digital for simple pieces. I have a Dropbox account that is full of patterns that I've saved that about 75% of them I will use just on the computer, and the rest of them are like my HAIDs that, no, those get printed out. But I just use the standard Adobe Reader. I don't worry about marking out what stitches I have done when I'm doing the digital programs, and that's what determines if I will use a digital program or not. If I feel that it is a basic enough pattern that I can easily follow where I am versus what I still need to do in the pattern, I'll just go ahead and do it digitally. Like, I'll do the Frosted Pumpkin Stitchery frames on there. I will do, like for the Storytime Sampler, I'll do the Zodiac on there. I've done some of Floss Daily, I did electronically. I've got the Joan Elliott one, the Faces of Joan Elliott, I'm doing electronically. So, you know, if I feel like I can follow it without worrying about marking it out, then I'll just do it. I'll just open up Adobe Reader and go from there. And if I feel that I absolutely need to be able to mark it, that's when I'll just print out the pattern, like my HAIDs. I'm sorry, I'm not doing a 30+ page, no. I love my HAIDs. I will save them digitally until I need them, but I won't use the digital program for them. And then what do I do with my finishes? Well, I showed you guys the box of finishes, which is back up there during the last video. If it is something specific, like I've done last year, I did the Christmas ornaments for my kids. We give them a different themed Christmas ornament every year. My daughter's theme is snowflakes. My son's theme is trains. And last year I stitched a snowflake for my daughter and a train for my son. And I finished those up as ornaments. And I've finished the stockings up as stockings. But I'm not as good at finishes generally, unless it's supposed to be finished in a specific way. frames I'm a fan of. I do plan the Faces of Joan Elliott that I'm working on. I actually plan on finishing that as a pillow and then using it as a pillow here in the mom cave when it's done, because it's a perfect square shape and I think that'll just be great for a pillow. Rest of them depends on what the inspiration is. So there is the Unnormal tag. Thank you so much, Cindy, for asking those fantastic questions. Like I said in my first video, I know there are other tags out there. If you have a tag that you want me to answer, please put it in the comments. I've been watching Flosstube far longer than I've actually been an active member of Flosstube, and I just don't remember where I saw a specific tag originate from after you see 7 or 8 or 9 or 10 or 11 people do that tag. So if you have a tag, or if you know where a tag is that you think would be good for me to answer, please feel free to put it in the comments. All right, last thing on the list, stash. I have a lot of stash. There's a reason why I am called the Stash Queen. I asked Coffee Stitcher what he wanted me to start off with stash, because he's one that really wants some stash videos, and I know the Stitch Maniacs do too. And the first thing he said was fabric. Okay, I thought, sure, I can do fabric. Well, then I pulled out my fabric drawer where I keep all of the fabrics when I'm not, that aren't being currently used in a project, and realized I could probably do an hour-long video just on fabric. And as beautiful as all the fabric is, I know I would get bored just saying, here's another piece of fabric, here's another piece of fabric, for that long. So what I decided to do is I'm going to do fabric today, but I'm only going to do one designer's fabric today. It's probably going to take 3 videos to show all of the fabric. Today I'm going to do hand-dyed fabrics by Stephanie, show you what stash I have from her. Then the next time I will do Under the Sea fabrics, and then the third time I will do everyone else, which has, you know, some non-hand-dyed fabrics. It has some silk weaver, it has some scraps, it has some Picture This Plus, because I was a member of the Picture This Plus and Silk Weaver Fabric of the Month clubs a couple of years ago, so I do have a pretty good amount of stash from them too. But it'll be basically everything that's not Stephanie and not Under the Sea, because those are my 2 big sets. So just as a reminder, I'm not going to show these ones again. If you want to see these ones, you can go watch my first video. But these were the fabrics that came in as part of my haul from the sale and the Fabric of the Month from Stephanie earlier this week. So these I've showed you guys already. They were in my last video. And one thing that I need to correct from my last video before I go into these fabrics. I said in my last video, I only buy fabric when there's a sale. That's true, with one exception. If there's a limited edition fabric, a lot of the fabric the 2 that I buy from, Stefan and Leslie, both every so often will have a fabric only during a certain time of year, like Christmas or Halloween or 4th of July or something like that. And if I don't have a piece of that fabric already and I want to get something from that during the limited edition time, I'll buy during the limited edition time, but that's the only other exception. Okay, so I have to say that I'm very, very glad that when I kept track of my fabrics on my blog a long time ago, that I had done that, period, because there was a point when I first started collecting hand-dyed fabrics that I was foolish and I cut off the tags of what they were. Not smart. But I had documented what they were, so I had to look that up before I did this video. I pulled out all of Steph's fabrics and said, which one is this one again? Because it doesn't have a tag. But I figured them all out. So, without further ado, here is my stash of hand-dyed fabric by Stephanie's dyed fabrics. First up, we have Changeling, which is a 32 Lugana. That mine came out with lots of pretty purples and greens and some pinks in there. The cool thing about this piece, and the reason why it's called Changeling, is because it never comes out the same way twice. Usually with hand dyes, obviously there's always going to be unique situations with each hand dye, but you can pretty much tell how fabric is going to look on a 32 Jobelin is always going to look on all 32 Jobelin with just a little bit of difference. Changeling apparently never looked the same way twice, but that's okay. It's unique. Where did that little card go? Here he goes. This next one is an Ice Goddess in a 32 Jobelin. Pretty blues and purples. Now, if you recall, I showed you guys an Ice Goddess in the sale fabrics that I got. And here's that piece, which is actually a 28 Jobelin. Let's put these two up side by side. This just shows you the differences in how fabrics can take the exact same colors and just be absolutely different. But they're still both utterly gorgeous. Look at that. Very different, isn't it? So it's just a reminder that if they have it available to show you how different fabrics take different dyes, and when they tell you certain fabrics take dyes lighter than the others, they're not just saying it, it's actually true. This next one is another piece of Isolde that I had in a 28 Jobelin. This one is another one that I rescued from a piece that I was doing and then got scrapped. So it's got a lot of frogging in there, so I'll have to find a good piece to use with it to cover up the frogging when that time comes. See? This next piece is Loki. Love Loki. Loki's awesome. In a 32 count linen. This is another one of those fabrics that's just, it's beautiful. And I keep waiting to find the right piece to use for it. And I've had this piece for a long time and it's just gorgeous, and I don't know what I'm going to use it for yet. I will find a piece for it, but it's just, it's so pretty. It's another one that kind of looks like nebulas in space. It's just very, very pretty. Then this one is Midnight Tryst in 32 Opal Lugana. I don't buy opal a lot, but I do get it every so often. Pretty dark navy. And one reason I don't get opal a lot is because I think you lose a lot of the modeling with the fabrics when you have the opal. I love the bling, but really I kind of almost prefer to add the bling with my own beads or sparkly Krynic and rainbow braid and all that sort of thing. This one is called Mulled Cider. It is retired. She can't make this one anymore because the dye color that she used isn't made anymore. But it's this really pretty darker brown. She's got a few others that are similar to it now, but this is the Mulled Cider. And then this one is one of my pieces of Peppermint Sparkle. I have two of them. This one is the 32 Opal Lugana piece because it's Peppermint Sparkle. See the pretty reds and all the pretty sparkleopala. Sparkleopala. What? I'm in a little bit of a strange mood. What can I say? So that's the pile of all the fabrics that I'd taken the tag off of that I had to look up what they were. There were several others that used to be in the tagless pile, but they're actually now being used in whips. So I can show you guys those when they come up. This one is Tintagel. Tintagel. Can never pronounce that right. Which is a 28 Jobelin. This was the fabric of the month. Really pretty greens and browns and pinks. Arthurian Legendy. I mean, she's got Lady of the Lake, Avalon, Isolde, Tintagel. She's got lots of Arthurian Legend themed ones, which is fine with me. This one is Spring Grass, which is more of a solid color of hers. And it is a 32 Jobelin. Pretty light green. It's kind of hard to see. You can see a little bit better the color back here when I'm really far away from it and apparently putting it in my mouth. But it's really a very pretty yellow, green, pale. That's kind of better color. It keeps changing color on my screen. It's kind of weird. This one is Jack's Rum in 32 Belfast. Very pretty orangey, honey, brown color. She's had this one used quite a bit in some of her pieces that have been published in like just cross stitch and that sort of thing. Let's see, a little bit better, more accurate representation of the color. Sorry, it's hard. But this one usually, I think this one came out, if it's not available on the website now, which I think it is, but it was part of like an autumn series that she did. This one is Fathoms Below. It's a 28 Jobo, and it'd be perfect for mermaids. I just don't do a lot of mermaids. But in this really beautiful blues and turquoise and greens and purples, and really it is just like perfect for a mermaid. If you do the mermaids. Mirabilia has some beautiful mermaids. I'm just not, I mean, there's a couple of them that I would love to stitch. I'm just not a huge, of all the fantasy creatures, mermaids probably are my least favorite. This is one of her limited edition fabrics, which I haven't seen her sell it yet this year, and usually she sells it in June, but maybe she'll sell it in July this year. I don't know. This is Liberty. It is a 28 Jovelin, and I bet you can guess what colors it is. Red, white, and blue. Just really, I love it. Again, this is another one of those that I bought and have no specific intention for yet, but I will find something. And she sold it for a few years now as a limited edition. And like I said, I always thought she sold it in June, but I never saw her sell it this time, so maybe she'll just do it in July. Though she did mention on her Facebook group that it may become, depending on how something works out, it may become a permanent color in her line, but I haven't heard anything else about it since then. This one is Santa's Sweet. It is an Opal Belfast, 32 Belfast. And it's another really just bright, bright red. Christmas time colors. Again, it needs the perfect piece for it, and I just haven't found the perfect piece for it yet. This one is Celtic Christmas. It is a 32 Jovelin. This is more of a solid than mottled, but it's a nice pretty green. I'm trying to see if I can get the color looking okay for you guys. Told you. I was doing only fabric for like an hour. This is Winter Solstice in Opal Belfast. It is in 32 count. It's similar to Midnight Tryst, but, and it's kind of hard to tell in this picture, but this one is a little lighter blue than the Midnight Tryst one is. This next one is Lunar Eclipse. It is a 32 Jovelin. I think this was a limited edition. I can't remember now. Blues and grays and yellows and a little bit greenish. And then we have Autumn Splendor, which is 32 Opal Belfast. Yeah, Jack's Rum and Autumn Splendor and Harvest Pumpkin, which is what I did Floss Daily on, all came out at the same time as autumn releases, and I think they're permanent in the line now. I think when they first came out, they might not have been, which is why I ordered. It's pretty. Maroony, browny, opal. Very autumny. This is my other Peppermint Sparkle, which doesn't sparkle because it's not an opal. And it's much more solid than it was mottled, but it's a 32 Jovelin. It's just a pretty red. Reddish pinkish. just a couple more pieces to go. This one is Stardust in a 2801. Cool with the greens and the oranges and some blues. Kind of see a little bit better back here. Don't know if the light is helping or not. There's somewhere I can hear in my head Coffee Stitcher saying, I'll just come over and take a look and see if they all look right in person. I'm doing inventory by doing these videos. I'll know what things are and if they're missing. This one is Odyssey. It's a 28 Joblin. This is another one like Loki that I think is just gorgeous, and I just haven't found the right piece for it yet. It's pretty browns and blues and grays, and the modeling on this is just beautiful, I think. I just haven't found the right piece for it yet. It really is a fun part when I start a new project to go through the fabric stash and be like, ooh, I forgot I had this, or ooh, which one's that one, or ooh, this would look really good, or ooh, not this one so much. Then the last one from Hand-Dyed Fabrics by Stephanie is an opal Belfast, 32 Belfast opal, also in Celtic Christmas, which is a little bit more mottled. It's got the darker green than the other one was. This is more of an evergreen forest green with the sparkle for the opal. So there you have it. That is my first installment of my stash. Next time, if not on Wednesday when I do the wine and whips, I'll do it on Sunday with my whips for the week. Next time I will do the Under the Sea Fabrics stash. I think that's about it today. So I'm going to go organize my beads and then go start getting started on my whips for the week. So I will see you guys next time. Bye!